Today we continue with our class Shabbos Home, and this session and all that we're going to cover today, BeEzrat HaShem, should be also dedicated to Lilu Neshama Velvet Ben Zion, also to Rifah Shlema, Dear Rabbi Yaron Revenschlita. His name is Yaron Ben Doris, Ariel Ora Basana, Rachel Bas Imim Rasi, Rachel Bas Brindel, Dovid Shloma Ben Sandra. Also, Aslacha Rabba to Gevares Hanna Bas Avram Avin. Okay, BeEzrat HaShem. So today we continue with our class Shabbos Home, and we today start a new chapter, number 31, and our topic is temporary oil. Oil meaning like a tent. Okay, and it says. So section number 1, Torah prohibition against erecting oil on Shabbos. As explained, chapter 30, so meaning the previous one. So it's like a talada, right? Like a talada from a building. Okay. As explained, chapter 30, it is forbidden by biblical law to erect a permanent oil on Shabbos. Okay. This prohibition is talada of al milach of baneh, building, right? Oil is translated literally as a tent or roof. Okay. The prohibition to erect the roof on Shabbos, there is a pinching a tent. For example, by pinching a tent. Primary requirement of the biblical oil that it is erected on a permanent basis. There is for more than a few days. An oil that is intended to stand only temporarily does not violate the biblical prohibition of oil. Okay, so that's the introduction minutes, section 1. So let's review it and see what we can learn about some things we already spoke in the previous sessions. Okay, so again, right in chapter 30, we said that it's prohibited in the biblical law to erect permanent oil on Shabbos. So the prohibition is talada. Talada is something like similar, very very similar to av melacha. So and as we said before, talada is always forbidden on the biblical level, right? And some people can confuse talada being something rabbinical. It's not. Talada is never rabbinical, right? It's biblical. Okay. So, but it's from like av melacha is something that was done in a temple. And talada is similar activities, right? Av milacha is boneh, building. Okay. Oil, translated as a tent or roof. Roof, roof is good translation. I like this tent better translation. So I mean, why is tent better? Because tent usually has walls. So and we need walls. Just roof is not so simple. Okay. Right. Even the roof needs some kind of supports. Okay, but we'll see. The prohibition to erect a roof on Shabbos by pinching a tent. So oil translated as a roof, right? Right, and we cannot pinch it on Shabbos. So even though we said before, if you have this, what is it? Like deck umbrella, whatever they call it, like big umbrella, you have table. Why can you use the crank and you open the umbrella on Shabbos? There is no problem. So even though it looks like it's a roof, but it's not forbidden, right? And we'll explain why. Primarily requirements of biblical oil is that erected on a permanent basis, right? So, but rabbis forbade us, as we for now we know with page 429, right? By now we know that even though it's a person did not intend like on a permanent basis, rabbis would still forbid, because it's only a matter of time when a person would forget and leave it as it is on a permanent basis, right? Unless there is absolutely clear indication, person is going to fix it before like a day or two. Okay, and oil that oil that is intended to stand only temporary does not violate biblical prohibition of oil. right? And we'll see, right? Erection of the roof, right? If person is going to hold it, right? Is it roof or not? So let's see. Section number 2. Rabbinic prohibition against erecting temporary oil on Shabbos. The sages enacted prohibition against erecting even temporary oil on Shabbos. They were concerned that erecting a temporary oil might lead to erecting permanent one. So, I mean, people start things and never finish, which would violate the Torah prohibition. The prohibition on temporary oil has 2 parts. Number 1, erecting a roof, and number 2, erecting the walls. Okay. So that's why I said like this 10th explanation better. Okay. However, the main part of the oil is roof. Right. Therefore, most violation of this prohibition involve creating a roof. Right. In some instances, one violates the prohibition only if he creates both a roof and walls. In others, he needs to create only roof. So, meaning if walls were in existence, right? In certain selected cases, one violates the prohibition by creating walls alone. Okay, we'll see. The image generally conjured with the terms of roof and walls is one building with 4 walls and a roof. Okay, it must be. Continue. Must be emphasized that insofar the prohibition of oil is concerned, the terms are defined is far more loosely. A roof is any object suspended in the air at a certain distance from the ground. Walls, in double quotes, right, in any upright object of the certain size. We will now elaborate on the loss of the temporary oil. Okay, so before we continue, of course, we need to go to the review. It's rabbinical prohibition. So rabbinical prohibition, I think, majority of this chapter, as usual with other chapters, would be based on rabbinical prohibitions. Okay, so again, the sages enacted prohibition against erecting even temporary oil on Shabbos. Right? They were concerned that erecting temporary oil might lead to erecting permanent one, which violate the Torah prohibition. So, as we said before, sages created barriers for us, fences that would not come even close to violate the Torah prohibition. So if they would prohibit us to do things even on a temporary basis, needless to say, we're not going to do them on a permanent one. So far, so good. Continue. The prohibition of temporary oil has 2 parts. So that's very critical details. So, erecting the roof and erecting walls. So, and usually when we do like construction or we do buildings or something, right, we first erect walls and then roof. Okay, it's simple, yeah, it's simple, but we're going to use this concept in case when we need to do shinui. So shinui is like a deviation from normal way of doing things. So meaning opposite. So in some cases, in the case of need, only when our rabbis allowed us, right, we would say that first person is going to create a roof and then put walls. Okay, so then it's not going to be violation of this case. Okay, continue. Of the law. Again, it's only when rabbis allowed us because of certain circumstances. However, the main part of the oil is roof, right, has been this way. Therefore, most of violations of this prohibition involve creating roof. So meaning if there are walls, it's nothing, right, roof. So a simple example, right, we have to teach kids. So they cannot build houses like playhouses, right, on Shabbos. So how? They would put the two chairs back to back, right, and put some blanket on top. So and they under there they would do the houses. So I remember we were doing it like when we were little, and we fit like three of us. So I remember the chairs were like normal like standard like with chairs. How the three of us fitted in that room, like in that house. I don't know. They were tiny, probably. I don't know. Very interesting. I thought about that recently. How is it possible? Tiny children, right? So I mean that would be violation of this melacha. So you have walls, right, and then suspend the blanket, and you have another parameter, space between roof and the floor, right? It's also very, very important. And we use this concept on sukkahs, right? When we need to cover the sukkah with a plastic or something. What is it? Trampoline, whatever it's called. We'll see. Okay. Continue. This what is it? This blue plastic. Okay. Continue. In some instances, one violates the prohibition only if he creates both roof and the walls, right? In others, he creates only roof, right? In certain select cases, one will is a prohibition creating a walls alone. So we're not going to elaborate because he's going to go all over the details. The image generally conjured with the terms roof and walls is one building, four houses, four walls, houses, and a roof. Right, that's like normal. Like if somebody tells a roof, and then the walls, it's usually like four. But we're going to see like even two is enough. Right? It must be emphasized that insofar as a prohibition all is concerned, the terms are defined more loosely, far more loosely. A roof is any object suspended in the air at a certain distance from the ground. So he's very, very precise with his word, very precise. So meaning if it's too close, so it's not considered to be roof. So what does it mean? Simple, right? You have you want to put a second, table spread right on top. So, but it's going to be hang on the sides. So, is it considered to be roof or not? So, but since it's one on top of the other, there's not a tafel between them. It would be allowed. Okay. So, meaning people don't think about it, right? But it is like you creating a roof. But in a different case, when I say when children are playing, two chairs, right? Two chairs, but facing their backs to each other, and they put the blanket. So that's a lot of distance from the blanket until the floor. That's a different story. Right. Ohel define far more loosely. Okay. A roof is any object suspended, right, certain distance from the ground. Continue. Walls are any upright object of the certain size. So, okay. Right, so I think we say tefach. Tefach is like a fist, like 3.5, 4 inches approximately. Okay. We will now elaborate on the laws of temporary oil. A. Temporary roof. Okay. Number one, the size of the roof. The prohibition against erecting temporary roof applies only to a roof that covers area measuring at least 1 square tefach. 1 square tefach. Right, the tefach is a handbreadth. Is measured approximately 3.75 inches according to Hagaon Rav Moshe Feinstein. That's all. Okay. So number 2, empty space between beneath the roof. The prohibition to erect a temporary roof applies only where there is at least a tefach of empty space between the roof. Right. if there is a less than one tefach of space beneath the roof, it is not halachically regarded roof, right? And is therefore not included in a temporary oil. For example, one is permitted to spread the tablecloth, right, upon the table, since there is no empty space between the cloth and the table. The cloth is not regarded as a roof, right? But then plus it hang from the sides. That's a classic case, right? One of our students fell in this, right? They asked him in the BeEzrat this question, and he did not know, right? And but plus, I mean, the way he explained the question to me, it was a little confusing. So Rabbi was like a little misleading him, like intentionally. But if person knows, how can you mislead the person who does know? Okay, no problem. Very interesting. And another lady, so she fell yesterday. Not only one. She like after from all of the questions, she did good, and I talked to Rabbi, amazing. But one thing she got wrong, and she told me what was it. But challah, if we have to separate challah if we bake mizonos, right? I said right, and I said we said minimum in three or four classes we said, right? So she was not sure. Right, from mizonos we do set aside. If they're going to cook it, I think we don't. So, for example, they do like ravioli, right, or something. So that's then we don't set aside. But for baked, for sure. Very interesting. So okay, so let's do from the beginning these two, and then we go to three because three is very involved. Okay, so from the beginning, size of the roof. The prohibition against erecting the roof, right? It's only roof that covers area tefach by tefach. So like fist by fist, like this by this. Okay, 375. Okay, so it's not big. It's not big. We'll see when we get to the practical application. We will see. I mean, when like some smaller examples. Right. Okay. So tefach by tefach. Continue. Empty space between the roof. Right. There's prohibition to erect a roof. So meaning a roof, meaning that you can go in a sense between the roof and the floor, like and the surface. At least like that's what means roof, or it protects something the significant space, meaning that there is one tefach between them, right, underneath the roof. If it's less than one tefach, so meaning lays on top of it, or maybe there's something in between, but smaller than one tefach beneath the roof, is not halachically regarded as roof. So this tefach plays a big role, right? And therefore not a good prohibition, or well, for example, one is permitted to spread tablecloth upon the table. So in olden days, like right, people would have they would eat a meal, right, and they have a lot of breadcrumbs, right, breadcrumbs. So I want the shake of the breadcrumbs, even though, as we said, there is a problem with the shaking breadcrumbs. It could be they you carry like some people will go through the porch or something. You carry from a public domain, from a private domain to public domain. It could be, or maybe you feed in the wild birds or something, so wild animals, or another issue. But let's say that there is no problem, and they would want to shake them into the bathtub. Let's say too many crumbs, and then they're embarrassed, right? They have these crumbs left from Friday night, and Shabbos morning people are coming. So if they don't have any muktzah on the table, so if they have candlesticks or other things, it will be problematic. But let's say they did not have anything like that, and they want to shake off these crumbs and then bring this tablecloth back. There is no problem. So I mean, right? So it's not a problem, and that's how the Rabbi confused the guy. But again, he said no. But I said, look, you need to know halacha. If right, we said it in the class. In that class, we cover this thing, right? That it must be a tefach. Okay. For example, one is permitted to spread a tablecloth on Shabbos. Okay. So continue, because again there is no space. Number 3, and this is a little longer, and it says the purpose of the roof. The prohibition against erecting a temporary roof. Oh yeah, right. A roof varies according to the purpose of roof service. That roof serves. In this section, we will set forth the rules governing these differences. The halachic types of are 2. A roof that is used for people or animals, right? And B, the roof that is not used for people or animals. I mean, for some kind of storage. I'm not sure. It's very involved. But let's see from the beginning again. The prohibition against a temporary roof varies according to the purpose of the roof. Right. In this section, we'll set forth the rules governing this difference. The basic types of the roof: a roof that is used for people and animals. So, meaning some things are allowed to us to do for our enjoyment of Shabbos, right? Or to protect our animals that we're responsible for, right? And the second one, the roof that is not used for people or animals. So we will see there is a different qualifications. Okay, so A, roof that is used for people or animals. A roof at tefach square that is intended for use of people or animals. For example, to afford protection from the sun or rain, right, is a full-fledged roof, right? Therefore, it may not be erected on Shabbos. Even the areas covered is not enclosed by the walls, right? Or it enclosed by the walls that would be erected before Shabbos. An example of this sort, or this sort of roof, would be a mosquito net spread on top of the baby carriage. So, okay, so it's not a part of the baby. I think today they have like a built-in, but in olden days they did not. So you wanted to put the mosquito net, so you do it manually, right? Because the net protects the person, is a full-fledged roof, right? Therefore, it is forbidden, even though it has no walls under it, right? Halachically speaking, walls that do not reach within the tefach of the ground are not regarded as walls. It is for this reason that the sides of the carriage are not considered walls. Before we continue, let's try to understand now this part. So again, from the beginning. So roof that is the use for people or animals. So again, we're talking about the minimum of the roof, tefach by tefach, like this and this, like small. Can afford protection from sun or rain. So meaning the roof is for some constructive purpose. Okay, is a full-fledged roof. Therefore, it may not be erected on Shabbos, even if the area it covers is not enclosed by walls. So as we said in introduction, sometimes like as somebody tells us, like roof. So roof, we imagine 4 walls and a roof on top. But some cases we said it's going to be just roof without walls, right? Or right, in some cases pre-existing walls, right, that existed before Shabbos, and they just put roof on top of it, right? Or even we're going to discuss even some cases when we move from place to place is also considered to be as we created roof, right? It was here, for example, right? Roof with walls before Shabbos. Okay, you did not create anything that's fine. But if we put it somewhere else, it's going to be forbidden. Move to to a different place in a sense, like we break this structure in here and we erect it somewhere else. Would be forbidden. Continue. Okay. For example, of this sort of roof, would be mosquito net spread on top of the baby carriage. So of course there is a roof, and you can use the baby carriage, right? And there is a roof. It's a separate discussion in a baby, like a hood, right? Are you allowed to open the hood, right? We'll talk about it. Okay, so that's different story. We say this. That's not. Let's say this roof is open, like a hood is open, and in a baby carriage, and you want to spread nets so to protect the baby. So that's the case, right? Because the nets protects the person, a full-fledged roof, right? Again, it's a tent, like a tent, is a tent. It's not a roof only on top, but it also goes down. Because the net protects the person, full-fledged roof, therefore it is forbidden even though it has no walls under it. I mean, it has some support, but they're not considered to be walls. Okay, so it's suspended. Halachically speaking, the walls do not reach within the 3 tefachim. I think first time I said 1 tefach, 3 tefachim. So it's like 12 inches, right, of the ground, and not regarded as a wall, right? It is for this reason that the sides of the carriage are not considered walls, right? And this rule of 3 tefachim we're going to apply in case of sukkah, right? So meaning in order to have for us to have a kosher sukkah, the walls must go to the walls to the ground. Of course, there is space. It's usually a space, so the wind can go in. Otherwise, it's going to blow it off. So you need to have some ventilation in the sukkah, right? So, but it could be only a short distance, right? And right, especially if you have canvas sukkah, it could be a problem. That's why if you have canvas, like they design in this in this style, there is like a Velcro, right? And it holds in place, so it would not like sway with the wind. Okay. So again, 3 tefachim. If something is higher, you have walls, but they don't go as like 3 tefachim to the ground. It's like there is no wall, and the wall could be suspended from the top, also possible. Let's see, what time is it? Okay. Just 1 second. Okay, so let's continue. So we go on to the subsection B, a roof that is not used for people or animals. This category encompasses 2 cases. Number 1, when we use the space beneath the roof, for example, to store items, right? And number 2, where we generally do not use the space beneath the roof. Okay. So again, before that we said for people or animals. Now we're going not for people or animal, right? Number 1, we use the space beneath for a roof to store items, right? So meaning some constructive purpose. And second, where we generally do not use to spare beneath. Generally do not use the space beneath the roof. Okay. So number 1. When we use the space beneath the roof. According to some authorities, a roof that is not used to offer protection to people or animals, but whose underneath space is used for some other purpose, is prohibited only if the area beneath it is enclosed by 2 walls that face each other. The walls must be a tefach high, right? Tefach high and tefach wide, okay? And they must be erected on Shabbos. If any of these criteria is lacking, right? There is if a roof is held up by the narrow poles less than a tefach, the prohibition of the oil does not apply. This poskim reason that in order for a roof to be included in a rabbinic prohibition, it must bear some resemblance to the ordinary structure, such as house or a tent. Okay. A roof that does not serve the people or animals and has no walls is completely different than the other buildings. Therefore, it is not included in the prohibition. A roof that has two facing walls, however, does resemble other building to some degree. Such a roof is forbidden, even if it does not serve people or animals. Let's split it in two. Okay, so that's a first opinion. Okay, our topic is where we use the space beneath the roof. So again, according to many authorities, a roof that is not used to offer protection to people and animals, but whose underneath space is used for some other purpose, is prohibited only if the area beneath it is enclosed by two walls facing each other. So very, very simple, right? Two walls. The walls must be tefach high, right, and tefach wide, right, and they must be erected on Shabbos. So that's in this category also is going to be like when you move something. So what does it mean? Somebody has they need a stepping stool. I think that's a classic example. Stepping stool to get something from a kitchen cabinet, like on top of kitchen. They hide candy from kids, right? And they don't have this tool, and they want to use this milk crate, right? And put some kind of board on top and step on it. So that's would be forbidden. So meaning it's not for protection people or animals, right? It's for constructive purpose. So meaning when you, even though it was there before, but since you move it from one place to another, and now you cover this board, for sure it's one tefach wide, right? And the walls more than like a tefach by tefach, for sure that's would violate this prohibition. In any of the right, that's a classic case, but there are others. Okay. If any of these criteria is lacking, right? For example, if the roof is held by the narrow poles, right? Narrow poles of less than a tefach. So I don't have any example narrow poles. Less than a tefach. The prohibition of oil does not apply. So maybe some like poles, like metal poles, and there are hooks on top, and they like stretch a canopy or something. So it would not be a problem according to this. Okay. So again, it's not for people or animals, but the space is going to be used. Okay. This was key reason that in order for the roof to be included in Rabbinic prohibition, it must bear some resemblance to ordinary structure, right? So, such as house or a tent. So at least two walls in a roof. A roof that does not serve people or animals and has no walls is completely different than the other buildings, right? Therefore, is not included in the prohibition. So that's clear. So in order to be included in this prohibition, again, we need, there are two different opinions. According to this opinion, walls, roof, and like minimum width of the walls, okay, and heights, width and heights of the walls. Okay, a roof that has two facing walls, right? However, does resemble other buildings, right? For some to some degree. Okay, such a roof is forbidden. Such a roof is forbidden, even if it does not serve people or animals. Okay, no problem. So such a roof is forbidden, even that does not serve people or animals. Okay, no problem. So far, so good. But of course, there is a different opinion. And it says other authorities disagree. The rule that one is forbidden to erect on Shabbos, right? Erect on Shabbos, any roof whose underneath space space will be used, even if it has no walls, or if its walls were erected before Shabbos. Preferably, one should follow the stringent view. However, in case of the need, they may rely on lenient view. We have explained that according to lenient view, this roof must have walls that were erected on Shabbos. This does not mean that the walls must be newly created on Shabbos. Even walls that were in existence before Shabbos is considered to have been built on Shabbos, so long as they move to a new location on Shabbos, as we explained. So this some people find confusing, right? We don't say that they created the walls, but you say halachically, like halacha looks at this action as they disassemble or broke the walls where there were this milk crate, right? It's a simple example, right? It was there in this room, and now they moved to another room, right? And same with cardboard boxes, right? They open the package, and now they want to close the package. So it would be problematic to close the package, right? To a cardboard box. So because it was walls were before that, right? Before Shabbos, and now when they close this box, it's going to be like that decorated in the roof. Also a problem. We'll see. Okay. If, however, the walls remained in their pre-Shabbos position, and the roof is simply placed upon them, there is no oil transgression. There is no oil transgression. We're going to explain. This holds true only when the walls are separate entities, and that are erected opposite one another. But even where they are a single entity, right? Holds true not only when it's wall one against the other, but even a single entity. For example, one may not bring an open box from one place to another and then place a covering upon it. So I would say even close the box, right? So you had the package from Amazon, and now we want to close it. For this, for the size of the box, are regarded as walls, right? Exactly as we said. Thus, one who moves it on Shabbos is in effect erecting the walls. It does not say in double quotes, but that's halachically how we see it. Okay, right, walls. When he then covers the box, he places the roof on top of the walls and erected on Shabbos. So again, moving to a different space, different place is for sure is considered to be rebuilding. Okay, so let's quickly review what we just said. So again, the other authorities disagree. So according to first opinion, even if you do roof, right? They say that one is forbidden to erect Shabbos any roof whose under this space will be used, even if it has no walls, right? So no walls. So in that case, we said walls are required. The stringent opinion, even no walls, or if its walls were erected before Shabbos. Okay. Preferably, one should follow the stringent view, and we're going to see in the practical applications how apply to us in every day. Okay, not every day on Shabbos, Shabbos and Yom Tov. However, in case of the need, one may rely on the lenient view. Okay, so now we have explained that according to lenient view, right, the roof must have walls that were erected on Shabbos. So that's why it's lenient. So according to stricter view, even walls were existed before Shabbos. This does not mean that the walls must be newly created on Shabbos. So even the walls that were in existence before Shabbos is considered to be built on Shabbos, so long as they move to a new location on Shabbos. That's for some people it's hard to understand, but we just accept. Halachically, that's what it is. You move this milk crate or this box, this cardboard box to another place. It's like you created, and it has walls for sure, 4 walls, right? According to all of the opinions, so it's like this person created these 4 walls on Shabbos. So even according to linear opinion. If, however, the walls remained in pre-Shabbos position, and the roof is simply placed upon them, there is no oil transgression. So it's according to lenient view. According to stricter view, it is an oil transgression. So they say even this oil does not have walls, right? And needless to say, if it has walls, okay. This holds true only where the walls are separate entities, right? That are erected opposite one another, okay, separate entities. But even where they were a single entity, right? This holds not only where the walls are separated, but even a single entity, so outbox. So meaning there is right, they all are connected together. For example, one may not bring open box from one place to another, and then place covering upon it. Okay. Right. For the size of the box are regarded as walls. Thus, one move it on Shabbos, in effect, erect the walls. So in a different place. So in that place, there were no walls. When he then covers the box, he places the roof on top of the walls, walls erected on Shabbos. Okay. So let's do number 2. Point number 2, and we stop. And it's scenario number 2, where we generally do not use the space beneath the roof. So that's supposed to be easier. A roof whose underneath space is not generally used for any purpose is prohibited only if it rests upon the 4 walls that are erected on Shabbos. If it is less than 4 walls, it does not violate the prohibition temporary oil. So that's the most lenient when we don't use, unless again there is 4 walls. Okay. Thus, if one needs a step stool on Shabbos, one may not fashion one by placing board over the open box. Okay. By bringing the box from another place, one is right. So that's this case, right? So meaning this space underneath it is not going to be used for storage. Okay, no problem. By bringing the box from another place, one is considered to have erected the walls on Shabbos. Although we have no use for the space beneath the board, this act violates the prohibition of oil, since the board rests on top of the walls. Okay, so let's try to understand. So from the beginning. The last case that we say is a case. 1 second. Bookmark. Is where when we generally do not use the space between the roofs. So it's not for animals, so not for people, and we usually do not use the space. Okay. A roof whose underneath space is not generally used for any purpose is prohibited only if it rests upon the 4 walls. So meaning there is like a much more lenient opinion, not opinion but approach. Okay, that were erected on Shabbos. So 4 walls, and they must have erected on Shabbos. So meaning if it's not were not erected on Shabbos, that's a different story. Okay. If it has less than 4 walls, so all of these cases we're going to see this. I think very long, maybe not very long, but pretty long. Chapter, and we're going to see practical applications. So now we're just building our knowledge, theoretical knowledge. Okay, the concepts. It is right. If it's less than 4 walls, it does not violate the prohibition of temporary oil. Right, and wool we said must be 1 tefach white. Okay. Thus, if one needs a step stool on Shabbos, and one may not fashion one by placing board over the open box. So let's say this milk crate, so for sure has all of 4 walls, right? So when a person puts board like plywood or something on top of it, so it's going to be for sure it's like a roof. By bringing the box from another place, one considered to have erected the walls on Shabbos, as we said. Right. So technically, in other words, if this milk crate, this box he called it, was there before Shabbos, and you just put roof, so a person does not violate this prohibition. Right. So again, because it's according to this opinion, walls have to be erected also on Shabbos, 4 walls and on Shabbos. Although we have no use for the space beneath the board, this act violates the prohibition of Ohel, since the board rests on 4 walls. Okay, so let's stop here.